Welcome to the Lead Management Mastermind Show, the only podcast where you'll learn about lead management best practices from the top lead management and sales marketing executives in the industry. Hear about the optimization, strategy, and techniques that have made each of our guests the best of the best in the lead management domain. Live from the headquarters of SVP Solutions, here's your host, Scott Payne.
Hey guys, Scott Payne with SVP Solutions. Welcome back to the Lead Management Masterminds podcast. I'm so fortunate to have with me an awesome guest today. His name's Alec Hanson. He's an SVP, Division Manager at LoanDepot. He's now the host of the Modern Lending podcast and Modern Lending Live and doing all kinds of great things. And I'm so happy to have Alec on the show.
Thanks,
Alec,
Scott.
how's it going today? How you doing?
It's awesome, man. Thanks for connecting. I look forward to talking to you about a lot of fun stuff today.
Yeah. Well, let's kick it right off. I mean, tell everyone a little bit about your background. You have a very deep background in the mortgage world, but tell everyone a little bit about what you've been doing the last couple of years and what your history.
Yeah. Okay. So I started in the business in 2003, shipping loan files. Got into it because my dad's been in the business forever. And then I did kind of follow the normal path for a retail professional. I did kind of the administrative work, front desk, receptionist. I was somebody's sales assistant. I did processing for a little bit, realized that wasn't the side for me. And then, became a loan officer. Did well, produced a lot of loans, had a really great run, decided I was going to go into management, which was an interesting decision looking back. But, fast forward, I've had a great career. I've loved this industry. I was trained to go after real estate professionals. So, I mean, literally like in 2003, it was go out and give me 8 business cards per day from agents and come back.
Yeah.
So I got really lucky. So I wasn't necessarily, smashing prepays and in the call centers environment. I kind of was just trained on purchase business. And that served me really well in my career. So now I'm over 8 states on the retail channel for LoanDepot, the Pacific Southwest. We're slated to do about $4 billion this year. So it might even be more now because this crazy market we're in.
Unbelievable.
Blowing my mind.
Yep.
I'm having a lot of fun leading a great sales group.
Yeah. You talk a little bit about, going out to get the business cards. I was also a retail LO in my career.
Yeah.
And spent a lot of time actually down in Austin, Texas at the Travis County, courthouse or wherever it was to get the county records and looking for those arm deeds and all of that fun stuff, going way back. Can you imagine doing that now?
No, now you just push a button and we can pull all that information onto your screen. Right. So it's wild.
Absolutely. Yeah. Crazy. So let's talk about the 100 and 100 video series, because that's where I, got to be introduced to you and what you're doing. Tell everyone why you did it, lessons learned, these types of things.
I worked internally at LoanDepot on an educational kind of training platform called the Modern Lending Playbook.
Okay.
And it was kind of a contemporary look at the sales strategies of our sales force and if they're serving us or if they need to improve and evolve and how do we need to kind of lean into the future. And one of the things that is so prevalent in that playbook is just the power of video, the power of social media platforms, and getting direct to consumers. And so I was going around, the country and speaking to my team on this stuff. And then I turned around and I realized I wasn't doing any of it personally.
Right.
And there's huge reasons for me, even at my level, to get out there and do it. So I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna show the way, and I'm gonna do 100 videos in 100 days.
Crazy.
And that was a terrible, terrible decision.
Did you get like 20 in and be like, oh, what did I do? Maybe even 10 in.
I didn't know how many I was gonna do. I put a little Excel, like a Google Doc up, and I started putting down topics. And after about like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I had like 45 topics. And I was like, dude, let's get 100. Like if I got 45, this is a done deal. And that's when I learned that's all I had was 45. There's nothing else in the tank. I figured it out and I stuck with it. And it was a super rewarding process. Personally validated to me, everything I knew was true about the power of video and technology and social media, but it was cool to actually watch it happen, around me.
Yeah. Well, that's where I get introduced, and it was kind of a routine for me every morning to, jump on LinkedIn and check out the last episode. And then my mind was blown because 32 episodes in, it's an episode of lead management.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be good. And he comes out of the gate and you say, you know what? Lead management is boring. It isn't sexy. And I'm like, what?
I know. I offended everybody in the lead management space.
Yep. So, but it caught my eye, and and I think you said it best. You said, it's an imperative skill for the evolving loan officer. And that the future success of any loan originator is going to be on their ability to manage leads, right? And I'm like, that's exactly why I started my business. I think it resonated with me. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Like, what are you thinking there?
Well, so it's funny. You have to look at so one of the modules of the 8 that we spent a lot of time on developing is lead management.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to understand from a retail guy's perspective, we didn't work leads.
Yeah.
In my glory days and a lot of originators today, it was up to the real estate agent to work leads. Like they gave them to us when they were like, I need a pre-qual, I'm ready to rock. And that's when they came into our world. So, fast forward, that's not the world anymore. Yep. You've got to either co-manage leads with your real estate agents and partners, or, as a lot of contemporary originators are figuring out, go directly to the consumer, bring in a bunch of influence and leads. And then it's like, what do I do now? I mean, how many realtors today are just straight up Zillow mongers? Like that's their whole business, is lead aggregation from Zillow leads.
Yeah.
They hire dialers in the Philippines or wherever they get them to just call leads.
Power through it. Yeah.
It's crazy. And they don't even do door knocking or community, style origination or customer acquisition anymore. It's all lead buy.
Yep.
So I knew that was going to be a skill set, and you have to, part of the module is just like, literally, what is lead management? What is a workflow? How do you use the CRM? Mm-hmm. We're great in retail of having CRMs and never logging in. It's like our superpower.
That's great. Yeah. It's a great
but
superpower.
It's crucial. It's going to be so, it's, in my opinion, it's going to differentiate the winners and losers in the future for retail lenders. Yep. Because if they can't figure it out, they won't get any customers.
Well, you've talked about the consumer-centric model going forward and these types of things. Like, what are your thoughts on, like, what do customers expect today from a retail loan officer, let's say, or just a loan officer in general? What are they expecting in your eyes as it relates to that lead management? Because it's not just get the lead and you call them and take an application. There's a little bit more work that goes into that. What do you see?
It's such a variety spectrum, but man, the modern customer expects an Amazon and Uber experience, period. They expect, the system and the lead management flow behind the scenes back here to happen so transparently that they're just getting what they want when they want it as fast as possible with the utmost transparency. So, right now, right? Think about it. You tell your wife, you're hungry for pizza, and a DiGiorno ad is like now on your phone
right away. Yeah.
So like, translate that to lead management. It's like, I'm kind of interested in a purchase. I made a comment on, Alec's Facebook video. Maybe I want a loan. And then my ability to kind of translate that into a workflow, grab that customer, don't lose them, keep top of mind with them.
Yep.
They expect what they're getting from everywhere else.
Yep.
And yet most of my people, and I would say my people, like just retail loan officers, they don't know what to do. So the customer goes away, goes somewhere else.
Go somebody else. Yep.
Yeah,
Such a loss there. Such a loss, but still offended you called it boring. I think that it's a little more.
Well, the other piece that's just so powerful to me is, every month at our new hire orientation, I challenge people and ask how many retail professionals have lost all of their past customer databases over time. Mm-hmm. And the answer is a lot. Like, people are unwilling to even raise their hand because they're kind of embarrassed. Yeah. Because we get so transactional, even though we claim we're relational. Mm-hmm. We do, like the local pro is relational. And then I'm like, well, what do you do for your past customers who trusted you? And they're like, nothing. I sent them a drip campaign and I just spam them. Stop it.
Right.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is crazy. And, I see it a lot too. Even, we'll talk a little bit more about retail and consumer direct, but we even see it in consumer direct where these are past customers of yours. You still built relationships with them. Doesn't matter if it was in another state or these types of things. Yeah. You worked hard, right? You gave them a great experience and you let it go by the wayside by not following up and doing these things. Let's move right in then to that kind of compare and contrast. We were talking a little bit earlier about the comparison and, contrasting a retail type person versus direct, and some of the different things as it relates to lead management. One of the topics we started talking about was how they prioritize these leads. So for that former customer, like, what do you recommend for your retail group or your just retail in general? What do you recommend for, like, what is the prioritization, if you will, of customers? Like, what are some best practices you've seen as it relates to prioritizing who you should be following up with?
Yeah, I mean, I think it falls a little bit into a paradigm shift to a degree of deciding if you're going to have a customer for life or a relationship. And a relationship is going to frame everything up differently on how you interact with that customer after you've performed a service for them. And then that paradigm shift, first and foremost, will help redefine how you hang out with them. And sometimes it literally is as simple as just staying connected on social media with your past customers. And that sounds a little stupid or a little easy or cheesy, but like if that's where they are and that's where they're hanging out all the time. I think the average right now is like, we're checking our social media like 5 to 7 times a day.
Yeah.
And then there's like me who just, it's literally like just here all the time.
Uh-huh.
But if that's where people are and we want to be in relationship with them, then we need to start hanging out in those environments with them. And so I think that first is the first paradigm shift that people need to get their heads around is what do you want with this customer?
Yep.
And then from there, you can really start to build off of, well, what does a real relationship look like? Am I just spamming, my company's billboard all day long? Is that the relationship I want with this person? Or am I getting authentic and am I getting real and am I being of service and all the other stuff that matters to humans?
Yeah.
So
I think an interesting takeaway I've got just in starting my consulting business, and there's still a lead management component as it relates to my business, right?
It's for sure. It never goes away.
It doesn't go away.
Lead management's everywhere.
Right. But one of the things that's been impactful for me, as I've learned, is that, the video component, right? Through the stuff I've learned from you, but also to kind of pull back the covers or whatever the right terminology is, but to tell people more about yourself, like your family, tell people more about your history, your like personal history. It's not just where have I worked the last 15 years. It's, how did I grow up? What was my childhood like? These types of things will resonate as you build relationships with people long term. I think that's a key.
There's a little equation I have on a sticky note over here that says likability, credibility, and opportunity. And as we continue to move into this hyper relationship, existence, if you have to kind of establish likability first, like, do I like this person as a human? Video is a tremendous humanizing tool. You can actually like see the person and you can see their, body language and their, conviction and their energy and all that stuff can come through. And you can't get to opportunity without building likability and then credibility. I like them, but are they good? And then it kind of opens up to, well, maybe Scott's worth working with. I like him and he's doing a lot of cool stuff. He's credible. And now you have an opportunity to work with me.
Yeah. Love it. So any other compare contrast type of, retail versus the consumer direct that you see in your world? I know that you guys probably run across consumer direct from a retail standpoint.
It's fascinating. So, I've never worked personally this closely with a consumer direct division ever. I mean, I was at Countrywide and we had a large consumer direct division, but I was just kind of running around meeting realtors. But now we're actually seeing a hybridization of the two platforms. Which is very fascinating. And I know a lot of people are trying to hybridize themselves. But one of the things that LoanDepot, in my opinion, has been very pioneering on is, we're one of the largest lead aggregators in the industry.
Sure.
Us and Quicken, you push your button, LoanDepot's going to call you. And one of the things that we've been leaning into for the past couple of years is actually, once we get one of these people on the phone at our contact center, is live transferring them not to a call center representative, but to a geographically local retail person.
Love it. Yeah.
And the retail person, of course, has no skill set for this. It's a cold lead. They don't know what to do, but they're excited. And so it's been an amazing learning opportunity as this hybridization where there's some leads coming in from the company, there's some of their self-generating business from real estate professionals and past customers. And it's a hybridization. And that to me has been one of the biggest like aha moments of like, oh, this is what the future is going to look like. Yeah. It's going to be a full combination of the power of a giant organization backing you up. Right. A lot of mortgage companies in retail are just kind of a glorified fulfillment house. Yeah. That sounds terrible, but it's like, that's why originators can like pick up and plug in somewhere else. Yep. But now we're seeing this wait, no, there's benefit to this LoanDepot machine that can make 1 million calls a day from, Orange County to everyone in the country,
Mm-hmm.
and then can send them into our local professionals. It's making an impact.
Well, that's actually just implementing this with another client where, we see, or they've historically seen that a face-to-face application. So if you can get a lead to somebody, maybe you still take them over the phone, but if you can drive a face-to-face application, let's say, I mean, this is kind of going back old school a little bit, but literally if you can pull someone in to your office, or you can meet them for coffee and start that application process, think about the rapport building that can happen.
Yep.
They're not going to answer the phone with other lenders. There's all kinds of stuff that you can build by doing that face-to-face. And so with this lender, we're trying to drive the leads geo-based. If it's within a 10-mile radius, give it to that person. And the step that we're doing, because you just said it too, like getting a retail loan officer, traditional retail, to log into a system to do what they need to do, right? So
don't make them log into stuff.
Yeah. But are they going to follow up 6-7 times that a consumer direct quote unquote model would do, right? And so what we're doing is putting in place a model that the lead goes out for the first attempt to that retail person. And if they're able to take it and move on, they're able to take it and take the application and move forward. But if they don't make contact, they leave a message, we actually then pull it back to the consumer direct model to let them finish the phone calls. And the retail group gets excited about it because they're getting fresh leads sent to them right away, brand new. They get an opportunity, and they know if they don't make contact, they don't have to worry about all the follow-up that comes along with it, which is typically what scares, or, scares might be the right word, scares a retail loan officer from following. They don't have to follow.
They're just not equipped. Like, they don't think that way. It's like, are you an escrow? Oh, okay. And then they go off. Right. We just get distracted, and we don't have a system, and we're not using a technology like a CRM effectively to keep us on point.
Sure.
And so it's been a lot of learning things, but you said two things I thought were really interesting. One, the face-to-face appointment as old school, which is hysterical because human connection is never old school, right? Like it's where relationships start. And so, but the other thing that we've been leaning into is video, because sometimes a customer doesn't want to be served in a face-to-face capacity.
Sure.
They're busy. They're like, I can't drive down to meet you, but I still expect you to give me service the way I want it. And so leveraging video at that point to explain the documentation, to explain the process, to educate the customer, they can get the same like face-to-face feeling with a personal video message. And that's actually what's been, cutting through the noise on our lead management skills. Someone pushes a button, they get robo-dialed, 30,000 times in 4 days.
Right.
Even the retail loan officer calls them, and it's a local number, but they're spoofing local numbers now.
Right.
So you just ignore it, right? Like, how many robo-dials a day do you get? Like, I'm at like 20.
Right. I'm at 15.
So
10, 15.
It's gross.
Yeah.
So we've, leaning into a simple video text message that says, hey, I'm Alec. I've been in Orange County for 30 years doing loans. I'm sure you're getting harassed by everybody. And if you didn't get everything you need, I'd love to buy you a coffee. Customers, they first of all, text messaging, as you probably know, cuts through a lot of noise.
Sure.
Although I'm getting spam text messages now about like my latest offer for $5,000 of some BS. It's crazy. Yeah. But that message and that video can cut through it.
Yep. Well, you had on as one of your guests is Dave Savage.
Yeah.
And that's where I thought it was so fascinating when they started having presentations where you could talk to a video and walk them through the options. I thought it was so fascinating. So yeah, anyways, you nailed it. Video is where it's at. It's where it's going. It'll be interesting to see how the consumer direct model is able to adapt to that. And retail, you guys got a head start, right? Like get after it and keep it going.
We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's great.
It's an evolution for us too.
Sure. Yep. So just a couple other things real quick. So first is success story relating to lead management. I've asked a lot of guests, like, what is a good success story that you've had as it relates to something lead management related in your career?
The wonderful thing for me is just to watch people step into the new skill. Like just that alone is like a win. Because if you're playing in the space, you'll get better in the space. You'll learn more tricks. You'll learn what's working. You'll get more creative. You'll get more systematized. You'll leverage more tools, and that just leads to more success.
Right.
So, I've got a group downstairs that's killing it with cold leads because they actually have a system. that reminds them like, oh, it's time to call this guy again, or text them, or send them that follow-up video, or my takeaway, note. And just the act of executing creates results.
Right.
So
just doing it. Yeah.
Just doing it. And because you get better. Like I the same time, like a lot of us would understand, a lot of retail loan officers would understand, prospecting agents at open houses. That's a skill set of just how do you meet people and develop rapport, and how do you come off professional and blah blah. No one walked into their first open house and killed it.
Right.
So we got better at it. And the same thing with lead management is the more you play, the better you get.
Love it.
And if you just listen to guys like you and other people out there, you can pick up stuff.
Yeah. Tips and tricks. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's all out there, right? The Google is amazing. Everything you could ever want is like, just go learn it. It's sitting right there.
Yeah. Well, you can do it, your own convenience. Driving. A lot of my listeners are driving to work. That's where they listen to the podcast. Perfect. The feedback I got. So what better way to step into work with some tips and tricks in whatever you're looking to get better at, and start the day off that way. So talked a little bit too with most of our guests about user adoption. User adoption of technology, right? We already talked a little bit about, what people are good at. What are some tips and tricks you've used in the past as it relates to getting your users or your salespeople to adopt new technology? We talked a little bit about videos and these types of things, but what are some tangible things maybe you've done in the past that will help that user adoption?
I have two views on this. One is my jaded, burn it all down, the world, which is just ties into, if you can't see how important this is, because I think it's staring you in the face. I think it's just like right here. So if you can't see how important it is, and you're unwilling to learn new things, you're doomed. Like you can't, I can't make you drink the water. But at the same time, if you're willing and you're eager and you just know it's something you have to master, then it just goes back to just taking baby steps. Just log in every day to the CRM for a week. Just log in, have it open as a tab, and just get in the habit of, when I come in, I open my email, I open up the CRM, it sits there. And then it's just going a step further. Start creating tasks, start setting up campaigns. If you don't know how to do it, reach out, get help, start just kind of learning. And from there, it becomes way less overwhelming, because, most of we have our custom built CRM in our Mellow technology platform, super deep, super overwhelming for somebody who's like, I don't know what this is. Right. I can barely handle my Outlook.
Right.
I don't need this thing that does the crazy stuff.
Right.
But you just got to step in a little bit at a time. And I'd be curious, Scott, too, what you've seen people implement that has been helpful.
Yeah, we see, a couple of places I've been, we've done, it's really just keeping it in front of them, right? You mentioned it, just something, the repetitive act of doing it. So I see a lot of people who will implement something and assume their people are going to remember it forever.
Yeah,
doesn't happen. Right?
We did a training.
Yeah, we're done. We trained them.
That no one paid attention to.
Right. Wow. They weren't even.
How did that not work?
Right. And so, it's coming up with creative ways to do, like we did brown bag lunches. Bring your lunch to our meeting. We would do kind of tips and tricks every 2 weeks. It could be an email series. It could be a number of different things, but really, really just keeping it in their heads, the technology, tips and tricks, these types of things, over time, they eventually get used to it. I think it's similar probably to what you've done with video, right? I watch some of your older videos. You've always been really good in front of the camera, but I feel like maybe you've gotten better over time, especially doing 100
no doubt
days, right? And so it's just a repetitive act of doing something.
Yep.
Same thing as it relates to new technology.
100%, man.
Yep.
Yeah. People go, how'd you get so comfortable on camera? I hear that all the time. And because there's a lot of fear with this stupid thing, like fear of judgment, fear of all the insecurities.
Yep.
And I just told them that I drove to work for like 2 or 3 years. No, maybe 2 years. And almost every day I filmed myself driving to work, and I picked the topic and I did kind of a stream of consciousness conversation about it. And I posted it to YouTube.
Really?
So it was called Drive Time with Alec. There's like 278 drive times. Welcome to Drive Time with Alec. I'm Alec. Hi. Well, we're back. Today we're going to talk about perspective. And And they're stupid, right? Like they're totally inane, like just random thought, stream of consciousness, whatever's going to come out. Tons of it was immature stuff. Some of it was just what I was dealing with. But I got way more comfortable with the little dot on, and the thing recording. And so I just tell people, just go do that and you'll be great. And they're like, well, that sounds terrible. Let's practice.
Right.
It's practice.
That's
how
amazing.
You get better at anything.
That's amazing. I never even considered that. I don't have a drive to work in the office, but I can find a way to do that. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yep. And then, posting online was what I had to do to get over the fear of, all the BS that comes with it, because the trolls come out, everyone's, there to judge you. And the reality is they're not. There's not like that many evil people in the world.
Right.
And they don't really care.
Right.
Like they care about themselves, not about drive time with Alec.
Right. That's great. Well, I'm going to end on this. So you introduced me some really cool technology along the way, the 100 and 100. One of those is Vlog Easy. It's something I try to do at every airport I'm at now.
I've seen some. They're good.
Yeah. It's so cool and people love it with the movie clips and these types of things. It's really cool. And it makes it because I can literally record it at the airport, get on the plane, just kind of clean a couple things up, insert the movie clips, and on the plane, I'm posting my video onto LinkedIn. I mean, it's that easy. So anyways, really cool technology there. What are some cool technologies that you think mortgage or maybe just, we'll call mortgage sales leaders need to be looking at and considering?
Man, there's so many places to take that. But I'll hit a couple that I think are really imperative. Let's start with the basics. If you're a sales leader today, you need to use the CRM that your company provides. I mean, that's as simple as I can get it, but are you in the same place that you're telling and pushing your salespeople to be?
Right.
Number one, I know a lot of senior executives and sales leaders that have a really strong origination background. So they know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. They've done loans. So get out of the ivory tower and go into the tech and use it like you would with, if you were a producer. You can help improve it by being in it.
Sure.
And then the second piece is just kind of why I got passionate and did my 100 videos is you got to be in social media.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to help your salespeople get over their fear by being uncomfortable yourself and going into that space and saying, hey, I'm not just going to shove you in front of a camera. I'm going to step in front of the camera.
There you go.
And I'm going to be just as awkward and confused and, insecure as you are. And we're going to tackle this thing together because it's that important.
Yep.
And I think that's the space where I see a lot of, people that are senior level and higher executives and CEOs. And I'm like, why aren't you in the digital community with everybody else? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot that are, and they're amazing, and I'm impressed. And then there's some that are ghosts, and I'm wondering if they're serious about what they do and leading people.
But the terminology that you use was uncomfortable leadership.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, I have respect for leaders that are uncomfortable, that are trying to do things that they haven't done before, because then it gives me confidence to go do something I haven't done before, and all the way down. Yeah,
absolutely. Awesome. Well, Alec, we're at the end of our time. Thanks so much for taking the time today, talking to us. And hopefully, I don't know, maybe some people out there are convinced lead management isn't boring now. I don't know.
I know. Yeah. Well, maybe they're realizing they got to get in and make it unboring because it's the future.
It's up to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do my part. I know you're doing your part. Appreciate all your time today and advice and guidance. And thanks for joining the show.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott.
We'll talk soon. Thanks, Alec.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Lead Management Masterminds podcast. Today's episode is presented by SDP Solutions, your one-stop shop for all things lead management, strategy, and optimization. Please visit us at www.sdp-solutions.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast site.